So here we are with RPG Maker VX Ace, and we're going to learn how to have a player move from one map to another map. So we'll just go File, New Project, and I'm just going to call this Map to Map. Map to Map. So if you recall, the default map is all water, which your guy can't walk on. So while I'm in map mode and in the rectangle for painting in the whole area, I'm going to grab the grass and I'm just going to give him some land to walk on. Then I'm going to go here to this folder called Map to Map, which is my project, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to add a new map, Map 2. I'm not changing any of the defaults, leaving everything as is, and I'm just going to hit OK. And I'm getting a checkerboard pattern instead of the water pattern. And of course my man's not on there because he's on map 1. Now for map 2, I am going to make it a different environment. I'll make it a desert environment. So with my map and my square rectangle, or a rectangle, I'm going to draw in a desert. So we have map 1 is a field of green and map 2 a field of sand. So basically, I'm going to want the guy to go from map 1 to map 2 during the game. But I'm not going to walk you through building a map here. All I'm going to walk you through is how to transfer the guy. So I'm going to make the exit for this map over here. And so now I've kept the desert highlighted just to imply that when he walks here, he's going back to the desert. You don't need to have that. I'm just making it stand out for the demonstration of this tutorial. So the way to make this happen is, instead of being in the map mode, you got to go into event mode. Event mode is F6, and you'll see event mode gives you a grid. Pretty important that you have the grid, because each one of these squares is actually coordinates on the map. And so our little area here is a coordinate. I got some chihuahuas barking at birds, sorry about that. So what we want to do is we want to make an event happen right here, so when this man comes over here and steps on this square or coordinate, that he's transferred to the desert map. So it's highlighted, that's why it's got the white border with the left mouse click, and I get the right mouse click and I can go new event, which is the long and harder way, go to quick event creation and go to transfer. And then you get this little dialog box. It says, well, where do you want him to go? Well, he's already on map 1. I want him to move to map 2, so I'm going to highlight map 2. And on map 2, I want him to come in over here. And I'm just going to say OK. And then when he comes in, it's saying, what direction do you want him facing? Well, he's coming in from the left, so I want him facing right. And then I say OK. So then that takes him off of this map. This map has an event to take him off the map. So now we go to map 2. And now we have to highlight the cell or coordinates we want for him to come in. It could be anywhere. He could come in here. Anywhere you want, he could come in. Kind of makes sense to me that he comes in off the right side, just for my example. And so again, I'm not going to do the new event. That's the long hard way. I'm going to do the quick event and go transfer. And where do I want him to go when he goes into that spot? I want him to go back to map 1, right to there. And I want him to be facing right. So now that has an event. So what I want to do, just to help imply where that's going, I want to get back to map mode, grab some greenery, and that just tells me, like, if I look at this map, he's going off to the desert. If I look at this map, he's going back to the field. So let's play test this. So we hit the playtest button. And so here's our little play screen right here. And our guy's here. So I'm just going to arrow him over. He can walk anywhere he wants in here. I'm just going to test my little transfer. So he's going to walk onto the desert. And sure enough, there he comes out and he's facing the right direction. Now he can walk all over the desert. Or he can go back to the green field. and he's coming out and he's facing the right direction. So pretty much that's how you do a transfer, folks. So remember that a transfer is an event, and quick event is a good way of doing it because there's like 4 events that are already so common that the software actually sets it up for you pretty much. And you got to do an event on each map you want it to be able to go back and forth from. So I put an event on the first map to go to the desert. I put a map on the second map to come from the desert back to the green field. I could have events anywhere on here. Like I could have any number of events on my maps. So there's no limit to events. That's how you transfer from a map to a map. And just to keep in mind that it's sort of the same thing when you're, say you're going to walk into a village. Well, instead of just walking over the village, you're going to create events to make the character actually explore the village. So there'll be another map, and it'll get quite involved. Now, having said that, map 1 and map 2 are probably not the best names for your maps, because you're going to want to sort of have an idea navigationally where you are, right? So you can always rename your maps into map properties when you're ready to. And it's just there. You just highlight that and go, okay, I'm going to say this is my starting map, or my, my 20,000 foot up map, whatever. And then this could be, sorry, I gotta get out of here and cancel that. This could be your village map or whatever, or your desert oasis. You just rename it this way. And then you'll know what all these maps are, because 1 and 2 don't mean anything. When you got 30 maps, you're going to be confused. So you do want to eventually name these things correctly. And a couple more things I'm just going to mention about maps is when I created these maps, I was up in this map to map. I wasn't down here. I wasn't creating sub maps. I was up here creating high level maps. And when I created the maps, I'm just going to show you here. The default size is 17 by 13. So that's the size that we were just looking at. That's workable for a beginner. Build them much bigger and you could get quite overwhelmed with what you've created. So try as you're learning to keep things manageable. You can also put display names on your map. So if I was on map 2, for example, my display name could be Desert Oasis, right? So the other thing that's something that's commonly done is to disable dashing, and that just prevents your characters from dashing around the map. So that's a common thing to do, is just to click that and disable dashings. We didn't do that on our previous maps, but there's nothing stopping us from doing that. There's nothing stopping us from going into map properties and doing whatever we want here. I would just say at this point that's all we need to know for our map transfers, and we'll end this video right here.